Chapter 3, Rashi's Exegetical Method and the Peshat Dirash Framework. Rashi's Exegetical Method and the Peshat Dirash Framework. Rashi's approach to Scripture is best understood as a carefully balanced method that seeks the plain sense of the text, Peshat, while recognizing and incorporating meaningful extensions beyond the literal meaning, Dirash. This dual orientation is widely described in standard reference works as the core of his exegetical project, a project that connects linguistic clarity with interpretive imagination in service of communal understanding, Britannica ND, World History Encyclopedia 2020. What distinguishes Rashi in this framework is not a rejection of interpretive expansion, but a disciplined integration of such expansions within the evidentiary boundaries provided by the Hebrew language and the textual context. In this sense, the Peshat Dirash framework operates as a dynamic two-part instrument. Peshat grounds interpretation in linguistic and grammatical observation, and Dirash opens a space for thematic, ethical, and narrative reading that remains tethered to the text's lexical foundation, Britannica ND World History Encyclopedia 2020. This chapter traces how that instrument functions in practice, what counts as a legitimate Dirash in Rashi's milieu, and how independent readers can study this method today. Core concepts, Peshat, Dirash, and Midrash. The term Peshat denotes the straightforward, literal sense of the biblical text as it emerges from careful attention to grammar, syntax, and vocabulary. It is not a simplistic reading, but a disciplined retrieval of the text's initial meaning before any later layers are invoked. The related concept Dirash refers to interpretive readings that extend beyond the grammatical surface, drawing on thematic links, linguistic echoes, or midrashic traditions to illuminate or apply the text in new ways. The broader category of midrash encompasses a wide range of interpretive practices, including narrative elaborations, ethical exhortations, and the construction of interpretive connections, all of which may be deployed to enrich understanding without severing ties to the linguistic evidence, Britannica ND Jewish Encyclopedia 1901. These foundational terms recur across Rashi's commentaries and later scholarly discussions, where Peshat remains the anchor and Dirash serves as a bridge to deeper or broader significance. Within this triad, Rashi's own method demonstrates a cautious but expansive use of Dirash. His glosses frequently begin with the plain sense, an orientation toward linguistic precision that fosters reproducibility and pedagogy. When a verse presents ambiguity, a grammatical trap, or a conventionally interpreted difficulty, he introduces a dirash that seeks to resolve the tension while preserving fidelity to the text's evidence. This balance is central to his pedagogical aim, to equip students with reliable, transparent readings that can be debated, taught, and transmitted through generations. The midrashic dimension provides a reservoir of interpretive possibilities that can be harnessed to address ethical concerns, liturgical relevance, or thematic coherence across passages, all without dissolving the linguistic foundations that ground the reading. Rashi's balancing act, starting with Peshat, then Dirash. The procedural heart of Rashi's method lies in beginning, where every careful reader should begin with the text as it stands, examined through the lens of grammar and lexicon. This commitment to the plain sense is not merely a nostalgia for simplicity, it is a methodological stance that treats linguistic evidence as the first authority and a necessary warrant for any interpretive claim. Yet the plain sense alone rarely suffices to convey the text's full import. Where Peshat encounters gaps, opacity, or interpretive tension, Rashi turns to Dirash to disclose layers of meaning that illuminate the text's ethical, liturgical, or legal implications. In practice, this means that a single verse may be approached through a sequence, establish the grammatical subject, confirm the tense and aspect, examine key particles and verb stems, and then explore a Dirash that connects the verse to broader scriptural or traditional themes. This sequence preserves the integrity of the plain sense while acknowledging that some readings require interpretive extension to be truly intelligible to a community of readers. The architectural logic of this balancing act also helps explain why Rashi's method gained authoritative traction beyond his immediate circle. Practitioners in Provence and other centers absorbed the practical habit of first clarifying language and then inviting interpretive depth, an approach that proved teachable, reproducible, and adaptable to varied textual problems. The resulting exegesis could be deployed in study rooms, synagogues, and schools, fostering a shared method that could be transmitted across generations and regions. Linguistic analysis as the tool for meaning. A defining feature of Rashi's method is his insistence on linguistic detail as the primary means of disclosing sense. This includes attention to root forms, inflection, syntax, and idiomatic usage. By foregrounding these elements, Rashi demonstrates that the reliability of the Peshat reading rests on the interpreter's ability to reconstruct authentic linguistic meaning from the text itself, rather than imposing an external frame onto the verses. This emphasis on language aligns with broader medieval philological practices and anchors interpretation in verifiable textual evidence. The result is a model of exegesis that teaches readers to read with precision, to justify each interpretive step with linguistic data, and to remain alert to where a word's root or a syntactic construction points toward a different or additional sense than the one readers might assume from memory or habit. Dirash as ethical and practical extension. Dirash in Rashi's hands is not a decorative embellishment, but a purposeful extension designed to render the text more intelligible within a living community. When the plain sense leaves ethical, legal, or thematic questions unresolved, Dirash offers a way to connect verses across larger textual landscapes, to draw out implications for conduct, prayer, or communal practice, and to articulate a coherent narrative thread that individuals can carry into daily life. Importantly, this extension remains tethered to evidence from the lexicon and from the surrounding textual environment. Dirash in Rashi's framework should illuminate rather than override the text's lexical and syntactic foundations. Jewish Encyclopedia, 1901, Encyclopedia Judaica, 2007. The enduring clarity of Rashi's method, where linguistic precision grounds interpretation and Dirash provides reasoned structure for broader significance, helps explain why his glosses functioned as reliable teaching tools across medieval and later Jewish learning communities. Authority, transmission, and reception of Rashi's method. The reception of Rashi's method is deeply intertwined with questions of textual authority and transmission. Rashi's comments were circulated through manuscript networks that connected urban centers with smaller communities, enabling readers to adopt and adapt his approach within their own linguistic and cultural contexts. The authority of his plain sense readings was reinforced by the corroborative power of linguistic analysis, which provided transparent criteria for evaluating interpretations. Over time, the combination of Peshat fidelity and Dirash-informed relevance established a durable template for exegesis that subsequent generations could reference, critique, and build upon. This orientation toward textual fidelity alongside interpretive flexibility remains a central reference point in studies of medieval hermeneutics and in contemporary discussions about how interpreters negotiate authority, evidence, and tradition. Illustrative case, a representative trajectory through a single verse. Consider a representative verse where the literal reading identifies a straightforward action or attribute. In Rashi's practice, the first move is to parse the grammar carefully, identify the subject, verify the verb form, check pronoun usage, and note any particles that might affect scope or emphasis. If these linguistic cues yield a coherent plain sense, that sense is presented as the primary reading. If, however, the grammar raises questions, such as a potential ambiguity of subject or a word with multiple semantic fields, Rashi artfully introduces a derash that connects to a broader biblical theme or ethical motif, demonstrating how the verse participates in a larger narrative or legal arc. The derash is not offered as a separate, detached correction, but as an integrated extension that is anchored in the verse's linguistic reality and its place within the canon. This illustrative trajectory, linguistic grounding followed by careful interpretive extension, embodies the core of Rashi's method and provides a practical model for independent readers to replicate in their own study. Implications for independent learners. For readers studying independently, the Rashi model offers concrete steps. Begin with a close reading of the Hebrew text to establish the plain sense through careful attention to grammar and vocabulary. Document the linguistic observations that support this reading. Once the peshat is established, consider plausible derash readings that link the verse to broader themes while remaining vigilant about not overstretching evidence. Cross-check derash proposals with other authoritative sources or traditional midrashic materials when possible, and assess whether the proposed extensions align with the verse's linguistic and contextual cues. This disciplined sequence, language first, interpretation second, cultivates methodological rigor, reproducibility, and a disciplined skepticism toward overinterpretation. It also trains learners to articulate a clear evidentiary chain from linguistic observation to interpretive conclusion, a skill that transfers to any field that requires careful textual analysis and justification. In closing, the Peshat Derash framework does not reduce Rashi's work to a rigid formula. Rather, it presents a workable, historically situated method for reading scripture that respects linguistic evidence while acknowledging the interpretive vitality of tradition. For independent learners, this framework invites a disciplined exploration of language, meaning, and community, guiding readers toward readings that are both faithful to the text and responsive to the questions readers bring to it. The next chapters turn to concrete applications of this method in canonical passages, expanding the learner's toolkit with practice in textual analysis, comparative reading, and reflective critique.